Hi, thanks for logging in to learn a little bit more about Cascade, our market research method. I'm Donna Hamlin, and I'm pleased to share with you a little bit more about how it works and some ideas and suggestions for how you might take advantage of it in the future. To begin, imagine if you could understand what your target or prospect buyer was thinking in a way that you could design the features and benefits of a product to better meet their needs, or to communicate to them in ways that make them excited to learn more about your product sooner. And imagine if you could do that when your competitors couldn't. Cascade is a strategic market research tool. It differs from traditional research in many ways, which I'll share with you. The intent here, however, is to help make your products, your services, or your corporate brand differentiated and stand out in greater ways in the community of parties and people that you most care about. It is often used for positioning to help you take advantage of how you can communicate with your customers or your constituency to make them deeply loyal or more positive and favorable towards your product, your service, or your brand. We consider it, as a result of its power, an unfair competitive advantage as a tool to use. The applications of Cascade are wide, like any good technology would be. As you can see here, it's used for advertising strategy, for employee attitude surveys, to analyze competitive environments, for work on corporate image. Oftentimes it's used for cultural assessments inside of companies. You can see it's been used for many other applications.
Here is a partial list of customers that are using Cascade today, and as you can see, it crosses a wide boundary of industries, countries, and languages. It has been used for 3 decades now, and there is not a brand, product, or service that would not benefit from the use of Cascade. To talk about the strengths of Cascade, it's helpful to highlight the main limitations of traditional research today. For example, most data that's collected shows what I call gross trend data. It shows what's somewhat favorable versus what's somewhat negative. That's not particularly helpful, especially in light of the fact that most companies are looking at the same data. There's no way to use that to differentiate your service, your product, or what you offer to your constituents.
For instance, in these colored blocks here, you can see that this was a study that was pulled out of USA Today magazine for an evaluation of how companies looked, how green they were, or perceived as environmentally responsible. Now, I would hope that if you were walking down the halls of the soft drink companies here, that if you were looking at this data, that you would not be particularly proud that if you were in Pepsi, that you got a 3.02 as opposed to a 3.01. That is, there's not much statistical difference between those two, and it doesn't tell you what to do to make your position better than Pepsi's. It's what I call so what data. Another issue with traditional research today is what is called the positive response bias. Oftentimes the line of inquiry that's used doesn't help you because people will tell you, based on the question, what they think you want to hear. For example, here's a fellow who is being very positive in his answer, when in fact what you're looking for is how people emotionally react truly, as opposed to just what they think you're hoping they say. Here's another example of some traditional research that failed for the same reason. Lee Iacocca had spent a tremendous amount of money researching why do people buy cars. The number one answer that came up was safety. And of course, they launched an entire campaign around safety and fell flat on their face. Had they had the research capabilities of Cascade at the time, they would have learned that it was really the tail fins and the chrome on those Chevys that was creating the excitement around buying cars. They would have gone for the emotional reasons why people were purchasing what they did. Here's another example of some data that I've pulled that shows the results from a survey on why people choose the grocery store they do. Now, you can see the quality of produce comes up as the highest factor, and it becomes consistently less as you look down. I'm prepared to tell you that that is not why people choose the grocery store they do. It is the reason they'll tell you on the face of it, but it's not the real reason. In fact, convenience to the home is the number one reason people choose the grocery store they do. Then they rationalize some of the other qualities of the grocery store, and that's what you're seeing here, the rational data, not the emotional data. Another example of research that today isn't being satisfied with traditional methods is this picture of Eckert and Mockley when they were first designing the ENIAC 1 computer. And at the time, there was an article with Forbes or Fortune that had interviewed them asking, why are you spending so much time and money trying to develop this product that the world may need 2 or 3 of? It was used for trajectory analysis, and no one could imagine the use of a computer for applications beyond that. They chuckled and said, of course, someday there will be a computer on every desk. The idea of traditional research anticipating the adoption rate of products was not available until Cascade.